On a tranquil afternoon of a day in March 2019, political commentators Hasan, Vaush and Destiny decided to have a friendly conversation.
If you are out there working as a construction worker, is laying down that brick really the ethical decision? What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Stop being a fucking condescending piece of shit just because you read a couple extra books and you try to fucking gatekeep the entire conversation by merging everything back to the one fucking piece of philosophy that you read.
No, wait, please let me finish.
Whoa. But let's take a step back. What managed to make these three titans of internet politics so mad? A philosophy student, alias Rem, had been challenging the three streamers on their justifications for supporting their political positions. At one point, Destiny recaps his argument.
The original argument is that Rem believes that if you're going to engage in political discourse and be influential to other people listening to you, that you should be able to ground out your policy positions pretty far back, substantially farther back into philosophical realms than most people would be comfortable doing.
In ethics. Just ground out in ethics.
But what does grounding out a political position into ethics even mean in the context of the conversation we are about to analyze? Here we'll need to go on a small tangent, but don't worry. Destiny and Rem actually referring to a simple concept.
I'm gonna use all the power of my brain.
To ground out, as Destiny says, a political position is to coherently and systematically define what is morally good. Support your definition of goodness in some way, and then check that your political position actually leads to what you have defined is good. Or, if you want to sound like Immanuel Kant, to ground out a political position you establish a moral theory for which you provide them a ethical justification, and then you check that your political position coherently fits with your moral theory. Now, checking that your political positions lead to moral things happening might sound kind of obvious. Many people believe they are already performing this step intuitively. But are they now? When is the last time you thought about your systematic framework for distinguishing what is morally right from what is morally wrong? One of the problems is that, as hairy primates, we usually have contradictory notions of what is morally good floating around in our head. Violence is never the answer, but using violence in self-defense is okay. Respecting different cultures is good, but the cultural practice of covering women up is bad. Game of Thrones is a good show. Bran the Broken is chosen as king because he has the best story, and to add to the complexity, political positions are often inherited from parents or teachers, and are treated more like a tribal allegiance than something to morally analyze or develop. So Rem is arguing that because political advocates are going to be broadcasting their beliefs to thousands of people, they should perform the exceptional step of scrutinizing their own views by grounding out their political position.
When we have people who are communists, orthodox Marxists, Stalinists, social democrats, liberal democrats, Rawlsian liberals, all of this shit, right? I don't think there's an easy way for us to say which of these is going to be more moral than the other, unless we can actually ground that out ethically, because there's all these different normative systems that are going to be compatible with different political systems.
One of the major issues is that if one doesn't have a clear definition for what he considers good, then he's at a higher risk of being influenced by gut feelings, in-group biases, or genjutsus, rather than logical arguments. And that can lead one down a path of supporting political positions that don't lead to good stuff happening. Or one might simply hold the correct political position by pure chance, without knowing why it's good, perhaps because his parents happened to be right. Rem humorously calls this being morally lucky.
It's weird talking to leftists who, once you push them a little bit towards the philosophical route, they have zero way of justifying anything that they hold, and you realize ultimately they're literally just getting all this stuff from like either the people that they grew up around.
Oh, like the people on the right that we accuse the people on the right of doing, right?
Yeah, it seems to me they got lucky sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? They are morally lucky.
Hasan doesn't seem to enjoy the use of this terminology on his person.
You can't understand anything I'm saying unless you take a fucking PhD level course in philosophy.
Pretty Boy Hasanabi versus Epistemic Andy.
To describe it in an easy way. I'm sorry.
Not what I said. I didn't say that you had to be a... Well, I mean...
What is this like morally lucky bullshit? Do you want some moral luck too, dog? Is that what's going on? You want some of this? You want some of this? You want me to sprinkle you some moral luck?
No, I don't think I need any moral luck because I can actually ground my political positions.
Okay, well, I mean, technically, apparently, grounding your political positions in moral philosophy is not enough as a standalone to float your content. So you're out here fucking shitting on other content creators. Got it. Nice one, dude.
During the debate, Destiny, Hasan and Vaush were not convinced that one had to ground out a political position, perceiving it as potentially impracticable.
We live in a real world, and there are pragmatic consequences to choosing not to engage in advocacy because you haven't read the fucking graduate level textbooks necessary to fully understand the position that you're arguing for. If we placed your standards on every advocate out there, we would have like 5 people left. There is
Wait,
real
what do you?
harm
But
being-
Irish, I mean, who cares if people are dying if they don't have a cursory understanding, at the very least, of Kantian philosophy? They just simply shouldn't argue. They should. They
what
simply
laid
shouldn't
bare
argue
in
for
the
different
foundations
policies.
of democracy if they don't understand fucking Rem's graduate thesis work.
All right, if you're
I
done,
actually,
like,
to use a real life example,
Can I-
yesterday I was outside of an In-N-Out and there was somebody about to give money to a homeless person, and I asked them if they even knew what the categorical imperative was, and they just walked away. I'm sorry, Rem. That's the only bully I'll do of you the whole time. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Otherwise, I got your back.
Additionally, elitism was also raised as a potential issue.
Are you telling me then that nobody should be able to engage in any kind of political advocacy unless they have the privilege, money, and time to engage in the
Insanely
high level?
Oh, no, don't give me that.
Wait, Rem. So
you
what's
know
your...
it, dude. You fucking know it, Rem. It is an incredibly elitist argument to make.
No.
To which Rem clarified that the grounding out of a position should only be expected from large political commentators.
I'm saying someone that is on a platform like Destiny, who has millions of viewers, definitely has the moral obligation to do so. And the class of people I'm asking to be more well-trained in ethics are not as many people. It's not the entire fucking world. All I said is for people with a large audience, people that are easily able to influence other people should make sure that their ethical system is incorrect. Do you, like, how many people is that? I don't know. Hold on. Let me finish. How many people do you think that actually is?
And a related argument to counter the impracticability objection was brought up by Marty, a philosophical savant inhabiting Destiny's Discord server.
Well, I was just going to say that type of criticism that you just leveled can be applied to universally everything. Right? So a person that, I don't know, goes up to vote and isn't well informed, right? You could say things like, "Oh, but he's working 40 hours a week, and I don't know, has to maintain his house or his kids or whatever," but that doesn't rid him of responsibility of how to vote well, right? It doesn't also bar him from being a racist, right? But we could always have this justification, while he's working 80 to 90 hours. The point of responsibility is that you're going to have to find time in order to maintain that. And although it's a reasonable concern to say that, capitalism might offer these extended hours of which a person can't reasonably accommodate that sometimes, what I'm saying is that what kind of type of solution are we going to have other than you just do have a responsibility?
Another concern the free streamers had was that if a movement were to impose such high standards of philosophical rigor upon itself, it could potentially hinder its political effectiveness when compared to rival movements, who would not subject themselves to such standards before engaging in political activism.
So the problem is that if you set too high a bar for yourself, for standards that very few people on your side meet, then you might, then what'll happen is the other side's standards are so much lower, they're going to be more politically effective than your side at all points in time, and pragmatically, you end up losing every single argument in society as a result of that.
Listen, Rem, I understand you have these strong ideas about what might conceptually make the world more ethic, but I feel like, and I'm sorry, I'm coming at you with the feels argument. Actually, no. What I'm saying is about to be completely fucking true. It is ridiculous of you to levy this bar for any kind of public figure engaging in advocacy, and it would make the world demonstrably worse. Not only because right-leaning people, reactionaries, conservatives, cuck-servatives, libertarians, anarcho-capitalists, and whatever the fuck else would never meet these standards, ever, so they get to make their rhetoric unburdened by these ethical dilemmas.
Almost everyone engaged in public discourse that we can name, like, I want you to name one person right now who actively engages in civil discourse that doesn't have the time to read philosophy that you know of?
It's
Can you name
not so again, give me the time. You never told me how much time.
Look, you did
how
this
much time? Wait, how much time? Sorry, Mr. Philosophy Man. I don't know how much time.
I'm asking you a question. Can you not answer my question? Name me one person who does not have the time to read philosophy.
How long would it take? You didn't answer my earlier question.
I did answer, actually. I said 6 months if you were listening, but instead you're just talking your mouth off and not listening to me.
Unfortunately, probably due to the argument's critical nature concerning the professionalism of the three streamers, the debate reached the Vegeta levels of bitterness rather swiftly.
No, you're right. It's actually much more productive as a democratic socialist or a self-proclaimed democratic socialist to not be able to justify your position because you can't root it in morality, and then instead try to attack the other leftists to fucking make yourself feel a little bit more intelligent. It's really great, dude. It's a really pragmatic position. What a great perspective you have. You turn on Rem too, Marty. You tell Rem he fucking sucks shit.
Let me speak. Like, seriously, what is wrong with you people?
Do you know what this reads to me? This reads to me like the most privileged fucking hoity-toity big brain white boy stepping into the political arena. Oh, well, I really like philosophy. Where I'm taking this is defunding philosophy departments at universities.
So despite the debate's prolonged duration, little ground was covered or explored.
But you guys covered like 5 minutes worth of ground in 2 hours because of how often everybody was misunderstanding everybody. It was real dumb.
Although it must be said that the debate did manage to be kind of funny at times.
I like how every single time axiom is said, it's like really articulated and pronounced.
I know.
Well,
it's axiomatic, guys, from the foundational beginning.
Ultimately, Destiny ended up agreeing with Rem.
Like, do you agree with what I said, Destiny?
Initially, I actually understood your argument the same way as Hasan and Irish Lady did. I thought you were broadly applying this to almost anybody that engages in political discourse. If you restrict it to a more narrow band of political figures, I would agree with you more. I think you should have at least like my level of understanding, or even more basic or whatever of kind of what's going on. Yeah, something that speaks a little bit to the arguments that you're making that I've actually repeated a lot in the past that bothered me was I felt like, especially amongst progressives, it felt like people were pushing a lot of low-level positions and they'd forgotten all their higher-level justifications for it. It was something that really bothered me, especially when you saw white nationalists becoming more and more popular. It felt like if I were to pull a person over on the street and ask them, so like people say like, oh, women should get equal rights to men. If I were to ask them, well, why? Why do you think that? It seemed like a lot of people didn't really know how to respond to those types of questions. And that's actually something that really bothered me for a long time, which is why I ultimately, very briefly kind of like dive into philosophical stuff so that I feel like I can answer questions like that.
The influence of philosophy on Destiny's brand of politics is noticeable to this day. A little while after this conversation, the three streamers, once friends, grew distant and eventually had a falling out that in part may also be indirectly due to their different levels of willingness to engage with philosophical thought.